Hello everybody, it's Jackie Smerdon and here I am in Dunnock Studio in the heart of Norfolk, UK. Hope you're okay today. Now it's my friend's birthday soon and I thought I would paint her birthday card. Now I've heard many people say that their paintings aren't good enough to give away to people that they know, but believe me, if you paint anybody you know a birthday card, any sort of card, they will absolutely love it because you've bothered to make something for them. So please don't worry about anything you've made not being good enough. Put them into a card, make a card, and I promise you that the thought behind it will mean way more than your perceived skill, and your skill will be a lot better than the person receiving the card, so I wouldn't really even give it a second thought. So I thought I'd do a quick video showing you some of the types of cards or ways you can make a card in watercolour, so you can have a go. And who knows, you might be painting rather a lot of them ready for Christmas and you won't be actually having time to do anything else because you'll get into it. It's lovely. It's a lovely way to practice painting, not worry about the outcome because they're all going to be very small. So why not give it a go? I'll show you how I do it. So I've got a selection of what I've got in one of my drawers to show you about card making. So one of the simplest things you can do is buy these packs of craft cards. You'll know what I mean. Little brown envelope, and they come with these little blank cards. See that, like that. So what I do with these, and I'll show you some a bit later, is I go through some of my paintings, my sketches, and I might just cut a piece out and stick it literally onto the front of one of these. If I like it, it'll go as a card. Most times I do like them. You can get bigger ones than these. They're usually very inexpensive. Shops such as the Works and probably the Range sell them. Unfortunately our local Works is closed, so I've got to go a bit further afield for those. But they'll also double up as gift tags if you don't think they've worked quite well enough for a card. But yeah, come with envelopes, very, very inexpensive. Highly recommend starting with them and chop up some of your sketches. Go for abstract. If you think that your actual paintings aren't good enough, cut a chunk out of one of them that you think is going to work, stick it on. Easy. Then you get this sort of set. So you can get these from online retailers, art stores. Funnily enough, some art shops don't stock them. You go in, you ask for watercolour cards and they go, oh, we don't do those, which is a shame because realistically you'd expect an art shop to stock something like this. So I don't know if you can see, that's very sunny in here. That is actual watercolour paper and they come like this. They always come with envelopes. Well, no, that's a lie. They don't always come with envelopes. Make sure they come with envelopes if you want envelopes. And this idea is you paint on one side. When you're dry and ready, you fold it up and pop it in there. Got a lovely gift card to send to somebody. So that haven't even got a brand on it, but a lot of them are very similar. So that is the equivalent to an A5 piece of paper, also known as C5, which you can see on these Frisk ones, but it definitely says watercolour cards there. Okay, C5, you might want to go smaller. Now these ones are from the SAA. I've used these in some workshops because they're just a little bit of a cut above, and they're even in a way safer because you're not necessarily going to make a mistake easily on these. With these ones, if you paint onto that card and it goes wrong, you haven't wasted it because you can paint another picture on a separate piece of paper and stick it on the top. But these ones have separate little cards. Once you've finished your painting on a very nice piece of paper, you slot it down through the top here. You have to stick these together first. These are from the SAA, if you remember. If you're not a member, you can still get them. You just have to pay for postage. So you get a mini print, not print, what am I saying? A mini original painting that somebody could either stand on their shelf as a lovely card and then store, or if they really like your work, they might frame it because it's already mounted. And again, they come with a very nice cream envelope. So that's really a step up from these, which are flat, because you're getting a nice mounted finish. If this goes wrong and you've got another pad of watercolour paper, you can cut a similar sized piece out and slot it in. So it's not the end of the world if you get this piece wrong. So those are my favourites, but you would imagine they're quite a lot more money than the fold in half ones, and an awful lot more money than the craft style of cards. So let me see if I can show you how I'm going to paint one. And I thought I'd show you this little pack of watercolours, which I got about a year ago. You might see these online, you might see them in art shops, so I thought I'd show you them. So there's a mini mixing area there, which is obviously very small, but if you're out and about, that would do the job. And then you have layers and layers of different colours, which are quite difficult to break apart when they've dried, if you don't let them dry first. But so I might have a little go with some of these, put those to one side. They're quite hard caked pans of colour, but it's sort of similar to what you would get in these. Theoretically, these aren't going to be as good a quality, but we'll see how we go with them. I've sketched out a picture here of sunflowers, and I'll show the reference picture that I've took. I've got some sunflowers with me in the studio, which my lovely friends Jill and Dave brought me yesterday, so they're now going to be made into a card. If you do get a pencil, I tend to use a 3B, but whatever you've got, just keep the lines light, and drawing a subject really helps you to see it and understand it. So even if you think you're not good enough to draw, just have a go at sketching just a loose outline, not hard. You don't want these lines to show up too much. You can even paint without sketching at all, but just for the benefit of, so you can see where I'm going with this. So let's see how we get on with this one. So what I've done is drop some water on with my pipette or a clean brush, and you have to work a little bit harder to release the pigment, and then mix it in a palette somewhere, or if you haven't got a palette, a white plate or a saucer is perfect. Charity shop saucers are really good. So I've gone for the palest lemon here. So instead of using masking fluid this time, I'm going to wash over all of the petal areas on here and some of the background as well. So I'm just going to get this wash on. I'm not going to worry about the lines. Don't forget that the watercolour will dry paler when it's finished drying. You'll get a lot paler effect. And now I'm just going to soften those edges with a damp brush, bringing that area around there. You see I'm still picking up that pigment from yesterday's brush show, and could struggle to get it off my hands last night. It's very strong. Not going to do any brush show today, we're just going to do watercolour. So I've just covered the whole page in a very light wash of pale lemon yellow. Lemony yellow just means a cool yellow that's going towards the green side, whereas a warm yellow is going towards the red side. Let's show you what I mean. So here we have a yellow. So a warm yellow goes towards red, which is over here on the colour wheel, and a cool yellow goes towards blue, which is over here. So you've got blue, red and yellow, your primaries. So if you're trying to make your yellow lemony, you want to add a teeny tiny bit of blue, that direction. If you want to make it warmer, your yellow needs a teeny tiny bit of red, and you start working that way. Probably need to do a film about colour mixing, and let me know in the comments if you'd like that. So I'm now just going to let this dry completely. Now I've added some of this warmer yellow into the original lemon just to warm it up a bit, and because you could add a little touch of red to make it warmer, but when you buy a set like this you've got a lot of pre-mixed colours, so you probably don't need to worry too much. These are great, these sets, but it's good sometimes just go back to your primaries and learn how to mix your own colours. So I've got a nice puddle here, and all I'm going to do is start working into the base of these petals up towards the top end where the lemon has dried. I'm using quite a large round brush here because I don't want to get bogged down in the detail. I'm aiming at the bottom of the petals and trying to give the impression that they're fading towards the top, not covering up the very top bit. And I'll speed that up so you can see how I get on with that bit. Now I've mixed up some of this burnt sienna type colour, and I'm going to make it a little bit more watery, and hopefully I haven't put it in too close to that blue. Very messy palette mixer me. So I'm going to have it quite a thin wash, and I'm going to just try this on the inside. See, it's quite pale, but where it touches the inside of these petals, I'm hoping it will start to just slightly run back into the petals to soften that edge. Now you're probably thinking that the edges here look very white, but remember we put that original wash of lemon yellow on all over this. So although some of these look very pale and white, they are in fact very pale lemon yellow. We can make them stand out a bit later by adding a background. I had something accidentally happen just here. That's a happy accident. Ended up with a smiley face. I'm not going to mess with it. I will put another layer into this, so we'll see if it stays or disappears. Who knows? I'm now going to add a slightly darker, almost like a burnt umber colour here, and I'm going to mix that straight in next to where I had the burnt sienna type of colour. They do tend to blend together on here. You can see it's a little bit of a mess. I've got a darker brown, and I'll paint that and speed it up. I'm going to drop it in. I'm looking very hard at my sunflowers at the moment, and the middle of the sunflower is darker in a circle than just slightly around the edge. So I'm going to just follow that and fill in those areas now. So I'll speed that up as well. When you're mixing greens out of a pre-mixed palette that's got more than one green, you might well find that they're all very bright. So a good tip to tone a green down is to add some red colour. Any sort of this burnt sienna is still a red, and you can end up with some quite dull greens. In my case, I want to make it more of a yellowy green, so I've just added some of the second green, which was my favourite, most natural looking one, into the lemon and warmer yellow that I had earlier. So I'm trying to keep the same colours going. I'm not trying to add too many new ones in. Normally I'd mix my own green, but we've got them here, so I've added some of that green into the yellow I had before, and I'm just going to add on a couple of these leaves, which are now on a dry background, so you can soften the edges just by flicking or scumbling. You don't really want that to mix in too much with your flower, although it doesn't matter at all if it does. This is its initial wash, so I'm just going to pop some green in here and just make up where I think it should go. A little bit of a dry brush. Let's see if we can do a dry brush off this side so you get the idea. Just a little dry brush just to get those soft edges, like so. Something like that. And we'll let that dry. So one of the things you can do to make a light coloured flower, or anything else really for that matter, stand out, is to negative paint the background, which I'm going to do now. And another thing you can do, which helps make things pop, is if your main part of your painting is yellow, so we're going for yellow sunflowers, go opposite on your colour wheel and you will have, if you can see that, a blue violet colour there. So they're opposites on the colour wheel. If you put a colour opposite, you get a complementary colour, and if you turn your colour wheel over, some of you may or may not know this, point towards one of your colours, your main colour of your painting. There's an arrow on here to there. Opposite, it will tell you in the middle, it says complementary blue violet. So you can do that and sort of plan your pictures to have a little bit of a pop, which is why some of the old masters' landscape pictures always had a little pop of red in them, maybe a poppy or a person's coat, because that red lifted the greens. So there you go, it's a little colour lesson there for you. So I'm going to go for a blue violet. Now I have a favourite colour of violet, which I've got hiding here, but we're using these, so I just thought I'd show you how possible it is to mix your own. So I've picked up a crimson colour. I think this is the crimson, I've already forgotten. Yeah, there you go, there's a crimson. And then on these 4 blues here, the best blue for this exercise out of all of them was this one. It's very ultramarine-y blue. This one here that looked like a blue violet, when I actually used it, was very green blue. Can you see that? It's on the green side, it's got yellow in it, whereas this one's got a hint of pink in it. So if I then put that and that together, I should get a red violet. So I've pre-mixed that over here from these 2 colours, and there is my my homemade mixed blue violet. So I added a tiny bit of red into the second blue, and the red came off of here. By contrast, my favourite colour of ultramarine violet from the SAA, there we go, looks like that. It's not much difference. I'm quite pleased with how close I got to that. They're both granulating, which suggests that that is an ultramarine blue. I could add a teeny tiny bit more red. Let's see. Let's see if I can get it even closer. So this is my homemade mix. There we go. You're talking minuscule amounts. That is almost identical to the ultramarine violet, which is pre-mixed by the SAA. So don't feel if you haven't got these wonderful colours you can't make your own. I've just done it literally with 2 unnamed palette colours. I've no idea what's in these, just by adding my own. I cannot tell the difference now. That is starting to dry. The 2 there are so similar. So yeah, have a go at mixing your own colours. So I'm now going to negative paint using both my colours around each of these petals in the background. Doesn't matter if you start off quite pale. Negative painting, you can use a flat brush, you could use a large or small round brush, which will get quite nicely into those areas. Don't worry if you don't go exactly, this isn't an exact painting. Whichever one you use, as you go, soften the edge. Whoops, just picked up some colour off my cloth there. Just soften the edge away, so you don't want a hard edge. You want the hard edge by the petals, a soft edge on the outside. And then you've got these angle shaders, which are quite nice for getting into corners as well. And so you can try one of those. You can get in, just follow the outline of those petals, pulling the colour away from the flower, and then softening it with a damp squeezed out brush or one rubbed onto a towel, preferably not as dirty as mine. There we go. So I'm now going to carry on, paint negatively around all of the flowers and speed that up for you as well. So I've just surrounded the flowers and made them pop by negative painting them. So I'm now adding some of the same colour, that blue violet, into the background, into the middle of the flowers. It's always a good idea to try and introduce some of the colour that you have elsewhere in the painting, so it's not just in one place. And the middle of this is a reddy brown, so we're adding bluey violet to it, and that will help darken it in places. And there are sort of rings in the middle of the sunflowers. I'm not really worrying about the detail in these sunflowers. I'm just pulling some paint around. I'm using a rigger brush again, just to see if I can suggest some little lines in here. But I don't really want much more detail than that in there. So I'm just going to again negative paint these petals in the middle. You can use a fine brush if you want, or you can be better and use a larger brush, which means you don't start to fiddle too much. This is a card, this is a sketch. We don't want to be spending hours and hours getting this right, because honestly, the more you work on a watercolour, unless you're extremely talented and you layer, there are a lot of good artists that layer many times. I'm not one of them. I prefer to just do a watercolour in 1 or 2 sessions and then move on to another one. So looking at that, I'm probably going to stop there. We'll let that dry, see if we want to add anything to it at the end as a highlight. So hopefully yours will be looking similar as well. So this is now dry, and I could perhaps stop there. You might think that's exactly how you would stop. That choice is entirely yours. I tend to like adding line work to my pictures, so I'm going to do that. I might regret it, who knows. Any sort of micron pen will do. This is Micron Pigma Micron. This one is a uni pin. There's lots of different ones. You can have a quick look at what that looks like. This is a 0.2 and a 0.3 in size. They're quite fine. What you must have is water and fade proof. This one says it's archival. This one says it's pigment ink. There's all sorts of different things. But if it's not waterproof, oh, there we go, somebody's flying past at speed. If it's not waterproof and you decide to do another wash, it's going to move your ink, so you definitely need a waterproof one. So I tend to use the microns, so I'm going to try the Unipin fine line and just add some lines to this where I think I need them. So I wouldn't necessarily add any lines on the edge, just where I'd want to highlight, maybe around the very bright petals. Remember, these are not white, these are pale yellow. We painted them at the beginning. So I might highlight those and just softly, this one's slightly smaller, have some softer dotted lines on the other ones just to bring them to life. So we'll see how that goes. And there's my finished version with some lines added, and it's only up to you if you prefer lines or not. So don't forget to sign your masterpiece so that whoever you give it to can sell it on when you're dead and you're worth millions. There we go. Then as long as it's dry, which the pens dry very quickly, you can slot it into one of these cards, which are very nice. I get these from the SAA, and you have a perfect gift card to send to your friends and family. So just in case you thought I'd got the photo off the internet, it's mine. Here are the flowers, and here is my card capturing them, and it's just about capturing a loose feeling about a subject. It's watercolour. Enjoy it. I hope you try and make your own cards. If you've got any questions about anything you've seen here today, please pop a note in the comments and I'll try my best to answer them. So happy painting. See you soon. Bye for now.